Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another segment of Truth by Billie Beene Special Report. Today's date, March 20, 2023. New. This is my third YouTube channel. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share on YouTube and Rumble. Episode 528. President Trump arrest. It goes along with this. Jade, Helm. Martial law. Credit Suisse sold. Protests in Holland, in France, in South Africa, in Israel. Some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot subscribers, Dr. William Mount, Jim Willie, Benjamin Fulford, Greg Monorino, Canadian Prepper, plus War News 24/7, Howe Turner. Yeah. Okay, let's get started. I looked at all these moving parts. I submit to you this is a coordinated program by the deep state and pushed back by the white hats. So we'll see. Let's get started. Okay. First of all, I'll cover the banks. Okay. So now we've been hearing even from War News 24/7, of course, how this relates directly to that war effort that's going on in Ukraine because it's being financed by the United States. Now, if we have a problem with their banks, well then, bye-bye a Ukraine war. So Dr. William Mount is bringing this out. As is War News 24/7, 186 iffy U.S. banks. I'll cover this for you. I don't see things that way, but okay, so we have that. Now, on Friday, today is March 20, so 1918, about March 17, Friday. Credit Suisse, this is one of the largest banks on earth. It's a multinational investment bank that most of its accounts are not so much citizen as they are corporations and government. Now, Howe Turner brought out this new term I hadn't heard. I had heard too big to fail, and the term he used was bulge bracket bank, which means about the same thing. So now, on Friday, Credit Suisse employees were called in, clean out your bank, because by Monday, this has all got to be resolved. Now, I submit to you something's going on that, of course, we the people don't fully understand because over the weekend, the Swiss government changed their banking law that said a merger or takeover by one bank and another one had to wait 6 weeks to take place. No. Over the weekend, the Swiss government said, go ahead, get it done. And so, over the weekend, Credit Suisse has been bought or merged with the UBS. And I wondered, who is UBS? This is also a Switzerland bank, formerly called the Union Bank, and it's a similar investment multinational. So, Credit Suisse a few days ago had been worth about, I think, $11 billion. And over the weekend, UBS bought it for $3.3 billion. So Credit Suisse, bye-bye. You're now part of UBS. But we can see with the Swiss government changing the law, something's going on. Okay. Now we have this. Dr. William Mount is talking about in the U.S. We have also bulge bracket banks. That's Howe Turner's term for too big to fail, and we have about 5 to 11 such banks. And like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and let's see, Citi, and so on. All right. Now, he's also talking, and other sources are talking about 186 U.S. banks that are on the brink of solvency or being taken over by the FDIC. Now let's talk about, I believe the regional banks are fine. But we see a move by the evil and corrupt shadow U.S. government, and that would be the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, and also Federal Reserve, and that is Jerome Powell. And then we have the FDIC, Martin Grutenberg. Okay, so what these people are putting out, especially Janet Yellen, oh, you should take your money out of those regional banks and put them in these top tier banks. The ones that definitely, in my opinion, they're going bye-bye. Or they have to be changed. I'm looking for a change in the banking system. Now let's talk about derivatives. What is that? Okay, this is like it's a money instrument that's traded on Wall Street, and that really has zero backing, nothing supporting it. Nothing real, like gold and silver or land or goods or properties or stores or nothing at all. And I've seen the list of derivatives. And so it goes like this. It goes from trillions to billions to millions and then on down. Now the list of banks they're holding trillions is these top tier banks. And then we go on down by size to banks. And even my Texas based regional bank holds millions of dollars of these derivatives. So against the bank sheet of my personal bank is going to be millions. I think this bank holds about 246 million of derivatives. But I would assume that this bank, which I believe is well funded with customer deposits and operates only in Texas and Oklahoma, which Jim Willie, a PhD economist from Costa Rica, recommended for the past year. Get your money out of the big banks, put it into the regional banks. Now, Janet Yellen is trying to persuade common sense American citizens, no, get your money out of that solid little regional bank and put it in these top tier banks. Janet, shut up. Okay, people, about 80% of the American people are awake. And we don't believe one word anyone associated with the U.S. federal government says. We're on to you. Okay, we saw what happened after November of 2020. Wow, was that a big event? Okay, we have Greg Manarino. He's a New York-based or East Coast-based economist. He's been around for years and appears to me to be very stable and puts out some truth, or a lot of truth. Talking about March 19, the Federal Reserve then is going to have a meeting on, so that would be Wednesday. Today's the 20th, so that'll be about March 21, about March 22. And Janet Yellen, yeah, she's gonna come forward as the spokesperson for the deep state to talk about this and that. Okay, Janet. All right, so yeah, so war news, yes, talking about now, allegedly we have 186 banks in the U.S. That could be finagled. We know the evil and corrupt U.S. federal government with stealing taxpayer money, sending it to London, then returning it back to the U.S. government in the form of loans on which we, the people, also are allegedly supposed to be paying interest to loan out our own money. Okay, we're awake. We understand. And we understand that this evil and corrupt current system has to go belly up, as does the current stock market, to bring in that new economic system, Nasara Jassara, which is going to be based on gold and silver, which the good people of the U.S. had tried to put in place in 1963, but President Kennedy was assassinated, and 9/11, but they brought down the buildings. So we see anytime the responsible people, the white hats, try to put forth a sensible economic system that would bring prosperity to America and around the world, the deep state does something awful. What are they threatening to do now? Baby, if they could launch a nuke on the American people, they would do it. But I don't believe God and the white hats are going to let them do it. Now, we're just going through this system. So we have this, more news. The plan A for Credit Suisse had been for UBS to take it over. That happened over the weekend. So Hal Turner, the bulge bracket bank, too big to fail. Yep. And like a Goldman, now the Dutch bank, DEUTSCHE, Germany. And then in my last video from multiple sources had said, when you see the major bank, like Dutch bank in Germany go down or a major bank in Japan go down, that's a bellwether for the entire global system to be going down. But again, we the people who are awake understand that this current banking central bank system, bye-bye, has to go away. Okay, and now we have this. Recently I went into O'Reilly's store and I needed to buy some transmission fluid for my 15-year-old truck. And this was in a small rural town, population 5,000. And I heard two of the customers talking about rainbow currency. I was shocked. Okay, so on Facebook also I have a friend who's saying the new rainbow currency is ready and it's in the banks. But I have other sources for that too. And they're waiting for the okay to begin Nasara Jassara from President Trump, who we know is really in charge. Okay. Now let's move on to, this President Trump being arrested. Okay. So President Trump arrest. This is what I believe. I think the fake Trump is the one who's prompting demonstrations in New York. Now, I believe it's the White Hat, President Trump's group, who are, the real President Trump operates out of Mount Cheyenne in Colorado or off-world. The real President Trump is not going to be arrested. Now, but I do believe the White Hats, President Trump's group, are negotiating with the Manhattan, New York District Attorney to perpetrate or to go through a fake arrest. And now President Trump's security group's not going to allow President Trump to actually be arrested, but it could be set up so that it comes out of New York and they go to Mar-a-Lago, that's President Trump's Florida home, and there's a fake arrest going on. Now I think this is the fake President Trump who's saying, yeah, get out there and demonstrate. And I believe this is designed to get the American citizens who support President Trump out on the streets so that there's a shadow part of the U.S. military. There's also a positive part of the U.S. military, which historically we have known as Jade, Helm, who wanted to bring about our martial law upon the United States. I submit to you this is multiple pieces working here, and I believe the deep state does want to bring about martial law. And so part of this arrest President Trump is somehow tied in with that. Now we have this. We have, Monkey Works had said, here's Florida, here's New York, right here on the East Coast, had said that there were extra planes over Mar-a-Lago, and he came on a special Saturday edition to talk about, they're setting up for an arrest for President Trump. Okay, so that's going on. And now we have this. Dr. William Mount, the date for the arrest, allegedly, of President Trump is set for Tuesday. That'll be March 21. And then I just gave you the date for that Federal Reserve meeting. That'll be March 23. Now, part of this date thing is March 24 was supposed to be the day that Credit Suisse went away, but that was already taken place over the weekend. Okay, and we also had this international court system from Hague putting out an arrest warrant for President Putin, and a Russian government spokesperson, Maria Zavahova. Yeah, so no, that's not meaningful. Okay. So now we have this, a political move, and I do believe part of this about President Trump, the deep state is trying to use it to bring about, go out there and protest so we can get the shadow military involved and bring about Jade Helm. I'll cover that a little bit in another segment. So now I'm going to cover protests that are happening on a worldwide basis that are also part of this global deep state effort. Now we know in Pretoria, South Africa, so we have South Africa, Pretoria, they've been having protests against the rolling blackouts. And I've heard this and that, but apparently their government is a little bit corrupt, and they're taking all the money and trying to keep the people down and keep them from rising up in power by taking away electricity from them. So there's a new party in South Africa, an opposition party called the Economic Freedom Fighters. And they want to remove the current president and stop these rolling blackouts. And we say to the people of South Africa, rise up and protest against your evil and corrupt government. Now we have this going on in France, brought forth by Duran. That's Alex Christoforou. He's from a journalist from Greece, and Alexander MacGregor. He's from England. Duran. They're bringing this out. Yeah, the people in France are out there protesting. Why? About their pensions. They've already passed moving the retirement age from 62 to 64, and now Macron wants to get that money, that pension money. And oh, he has to go through the parliament in France. Will the evil and corrupt Macron? Oh, no, I'll just bypass parliament, make my own law, and take all that money out of the pension accounts. Rise up, people of France, and protest an evil and corrupt government. And now we have this in Holland, in the Netherlands. This is going on. It's very positive. I've been praying for the farmers in Holland who were being attacked by their own government. You know, this is a government, Holland, just like I believe Australia, where the evil and corrupt government came to disarm the people. And the way they do it is they engage in a long-term program of mind control, bringing about individuals that are controlled by an evil part of the government, and they send them out to shoot and kill people. And then the government says, oh, we got to get rid of the guns. A mark of an evil and corrupt government, the first step is to disarm the citizens. So I hope in the future, this new Farmers' Party taking control in Holland will also pass legislation so that the citizens are free to have arms to protect themselves from enemies, both domestic and foreign. And I pray for the same in Australia and all nations around the earth. Yes, we need to all be a free people who have the right to defend ourselves, and also a free-flowing currency within our societies. Okay. So, now the Dutch farmers, they've risen up and organized, and they won in the elections a new party, the BBB party, that stands for Farmers' Rights, and they took 15 seats. They're the largest party in the government of Holland. Watch out, farmers, that the evil and corrupt parts don't try to bribe you now and get you to sell your souls. Stand for what is right. So now we have this going on in Israel. We have another evil and corrupt government headed up by Bibi Netanyahu to get rid of the court system in Israel so the evil and corrupt government can take away all rights for the people of Israel who are genetically Jews, while the evil and corrupt government is peopled by individuals. Jesus said, you say you are Jews, but you are not. You are of your fathers, vipers and serpents. And that's what's going on in Israel. And they want to take away all rights from women. You have to wear head coverings in public. You can't be a politician. Your husbands or male relatives can beat you. And I say to the women of Israel, rise up and kick some booty. And we have 500,000 Israeli, genetically, by bloodline, Jewish, Hebrew people rising up, 500,000. And now the military has joined on the side of the protesters. And the pilots are saying, we're not going to fly. And so that's going on. And we say, rise up, people around the world. Take back your governments and control and kick out the evil ones as we, the people of the United States, look forward to changes in our own government in the future. And now we have this. So I talked about arranging and taking control of our money and the banks and bringing about Jade, Helm, which was a U.S. military exercise about in 2015. It was in Texas. It was operated out of Florida and California. Texas, I think Utah, plus a few other states in this area. And the purpose, well covered by Alex Jones and InfoWars, was to bring in martial law and take control of citizens. Really, the plan had been to bring us all into those FEMA concentration camps. No, that's not going to work. Okay, but we do have this. This is another step forward. Yeah, that Jade Helm is kind of a tainted term. The American people are sensitive to it, so let's not call it Jade Helm. Let's call it now the AFC, which is Army Futures Command. And I give the credit to JVTV for bringing this out. So this guy came on, and I was surprised. It's based in Austin, Texas, which was the site, the command site, one of the on-the-ground command sites of Jade Helm in 2015, Austin, Texas. So we now have Army Futures Command there, the AFC, commanded by General James E. Rainey, who made this public statement. Yeah, and 66% of our group are paramilitary civilians. Now let's talk about that. Okay, so we went from Jade Helm, a lockdown by the U.S. military on American citizens. Now they're going with this Army Futures Command, saying that it incorporates 66% of American civilian citizens. It is a paramilitary group. And a number didn't come out for what's involved, but I personally know inside Texas we have citizen militias that number about 1 million. Just in Texas. Now, all over the U.S., it's about 100 million. Yeah. So, I found it somewhat strange. This General Rainey is coming out now making these statements and saying the military and part of their group is 66% American citizens. Okay, so that's going on. And I submit, and this AFC on a global basis has 17,000 members of the military operating. So if we have 17,000 members operating globally of an Army Futures Command that's using 66% of its group in Texas are citizens, what are they doing on a global basis, I wonder? We need to check into that, don't we? Okay, so that's going on. Now, I submit to you, this didn't just fall out of the sky being a news item, that it's tied to this banking situation and also this war situation that's going on in Ukraine, and also this President Trump being arrested scenario. So these are going on. I just think it's good to know, have a handle on what are the moving pieces here. Okay, now, Mary Greeley brought out some information. Mary covers a lot of things. One of them, she's an expert on Yellowstone geology. She covers a lot of that. Greeley. Okay, so she was bringing this out. We had, so here is Alaska, Canada, the U.S., we have Washington State. Okay, so we had an earthquake here on March 18, and it was about 8 o'clock in the morning. So it was 19 kilometers southwest of Anchor Point, Alaska, and it was about 40 miles deep, or 40 miles or 65 kilometers deep. Now, we have this. In my last video, I was also talking about the retaliation by Russia for the U.S. putting a B-52 bomber on Estonia right next to Russia and practicing launching nukes. The retaliation by Russia was going to be putting warships and submarines in the Pacific Ocean off of the U.S. West Coast and practicing launching imitation nukes. So I reported on that a couple of days ago. So now Mary is reporting on this, and she's also reporting that there was a Russian sub in the area of Astoria, Washington. So that's going on. Okay. Now we have this. We have, this is a retired Colonel Douglas MacGregor. He's a good source, and he was interviewed by Stephen Gardner. And he's talking about, on March 18, we have a gathering storm. And that we have the U.S. banks are going down, so the money to Ukraine, of course, is going away. And we have, he's talking about that recent, so we have Russia, we have Ukraine, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Crimea. It's talking about that recent MQ-9 Reaper drone that went down in this area. It was close to Crimea, but Colonel MacGregor is bringing out this point. It had its transponder turned off. So in my last video, I also went over what area does a nation own. First, from its coastline out into the water. So it's the first 12 miles, certain rights, and the next 12 miles, but essentially a 200-mile range from a coastline, about 212 miles. A nation owns the resources in this area. They also have a certain measure of control. And more ships and more planes have to get permission to be in this area of their control. So we're in a time of war, and the transponder on the drone was turned off. Clear, and so it's reasonable in a time of war to take it down. So that's what happened. Now, Colonel MacGregor is talking about Lindsey Graham. When the American people regain control of our federal government, one of the first things we're going to put in place is term limits. You don't get to be elected when you're 20 or 30 years old and stay in for the rest of your life like Lindsey Graham. Wow, he's been there for decades. Whoa. So Lindsey Graham. Yeah, we need to send the U.S. military to Ukraine to fight Russia. Right. Colonel MacGregor said, Colonel MacGregor said, Lindsey Graham is a clear and present danger to the American people. I couldn't agree more. That's absolutely the truth. Okay, so what we have going on here, now Canadian Prepper also brought out, we had 300,000, this would be NATO, and they've been working on getting this group. We have in this area, so let me take this out. Let me do some logistics for you. 300,000 NATO, and we have this going on. So we have, this is Russia, Belarus. Right here we have Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Kaliningrad belongs to Russia. We have Romania, we have Poland. Okay. So we know in Poland we have in just U.S., I believe about 100,000. And we have some in Romania also, maybe about 30 to 40,000. And this is just U.S. because they've been building up recently. Now, so this is what's going on. Bakhmut is a major stronghold for Ukraine, and under it, it has tunnels. They go all the way down to Israel and down to Turkey and Italy and all around. It was a way of moving certain things, trafficking. So now, Bakhmut is going down, and according to Colonel MacGregor, Russia still has right along this border something like 500 to 750,000 troops. So this is, can we say, getting ready to go? Because the winter weather did not come in cold enough on a long enough period to freeze the ground solidly to support tanks. So then you have the winter season, you get into kind of a rainy season, muddy, and then you go into the dry, windy spring season, which weather-wise would be better to launch your group. But we understand there's intense fighting, heavy artillery, and we saw what in the last week or so that Russia used the Kinzhal ground penetrating bombs that also hit in Kiev, and we understand, we don't have numbers yet, but went floors down, and I believe the floors down is about 20 floors. So they had that, goes from Bakhmut, Kiev, and out. And so that Kinzhal penetrated the ground, and they took out hundreds or thousands of NATO officers, intel devices, and intel people like that. So that happened in the last week. So now the scenario that Canadian Prepper was putting forth was the 300,000 NATO, and they're getting ready to launch into Ukraine. Well, we'll see. Because they're running out of money. There's so a a military runs on, they have to have money, and they certainly run on their belly and ammo and other things that they need money to support. So we'll see how this goes. So a short prayer now. This is prosperity prayer. It's based on the King James Version, Deuteronomy chapter 8, 3 John chapter 1, Jeremiah 29, Malachi 3. I, your God, your Father, your Creator, I know the thoughts for you, my thoughts for you, and that is to prosper you. You are my sons and daughters, my inheritance. The winds of strife of war may blow. You may experience a fall in your investment portfolios in your banks, but know this, I am your God. I own cattle on 1,000 hills, plus all the gold and silver on earth, plus my secret treasures that are on earth. And I say, if my people will humble themselves, put away sin, clean their government houses, I, your God, will open the windows of blessings, and I, your God, desire for you to prosper in goods, in your bank accounts, in your health, in your souls, in your families, and in your nations. And we thank you, God the Father, and God the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and God the Holy Spirit. And I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there, continue to pray. God is in charge, and He is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.